Long Island Backstory with Chief Correspondent Gary Jacobs.
Hi, I'm Gary Jacobs, and welcome to another edition of Long Island Backstory. Today is a really exciting show for me. As everybody knows, something I'm passionate about is telling the truth and getting the story out. And when I ran for office, I said I was a representative of the people. Long Island Backstory, we let regular people here on Long Island tell their stories. And I'm at WLINY Internet radio station today. This is the #1 internet station here on Long Island, I believe by far. It's just unbelievable how the station has grown in the last couple months. And I know a lot of people who have shows on it, and I personally listen to it. In fact, I just got back from a trip from South America, and none of the TV was in English, so every night I listened to WLINY radio, and I just felt like I had my finger on the pulse of what's going on here on Long Island.
WLINY broadcasting live from Long Island, New York, of course, Long Island's #1 internet radio station. We're here 24 hours and 7 days a week, playing the music that you're probably not going to hear somewhere else.
Today, we're lucky enough to have one of the owners here, Eric Kopelman, and Eric is not only one of the owners, he hosts one of the shows, he does a lot of the production here, and he's really taken this is his baby that he's taken up from ground level, and I know
Absolutely.
I'm passionate about it, and as passionate as I am, you are even more passionate because you live it. So, Eric,
excuse me for coughing. I'm dealing with a cough.
well,
right
we don't
now,
have
so
a cough. We don't have a cough button
Long
here.
Island cough. You can't mute me
don't have
out. Yeah, no, it is passionate because we have people that are using WLINY for a specific reason to get messages out, and we built a significant audience not only here on Long Island but across the United States, actually throughout the world. We have people in the Netherlands, we have people in Africa, so it's like people all over the world that are, like you said, in Brazil. And the people that are relying on us to get the message out, that what we say is like what mainstream media won't put out there, we're not afraid to.
And one of the problems here on Long Island, and that's one of the reasons, again, I started Long Island Backstory, is that there's a monopoly here on Long Island. No matter what, but I mean, they sold, now, it used to be Cablevision was owned by Newsday, and they both, bounced off each other. And if you didn't get in one of those, there was no way to get your story out there. And because they had a monopoly, they were careful about who they covered.
Absolutely.
They rarely covered any of the incidents that went on in the court, and the corruption in the court system, and even government, because you don't want to piss off the politicians who are protecting you and giving you this monopoly. They recently sold Cablevision, but it's still, so now we have two sources on the island, but they're afraid to lose anything. There's so much money involved, and that's what I like about LINY is that you are the other voice out there.
What gets me is that you get a lot of the mainstream media out there, and they don't care what they say or who they hurt. It's like what Frank Vetro says all the time. It's like, why do you got to put someone's name in the paper? Whatever happened to innocence before guilt? They're trying people outside of the courtroom in the media, and that's wrong. And one of the things that WLINY, the partners of WLINY, have reputations to uphold, and that we're not going to do anything or put anything out there, first off, with not knowing what we're saying is true, and we do it for a reason. We have an attorney as a partner, we have an author educator as a partner, and you have me, and we're responsible for what we're going to say, just like any other radio station. The only thing that differentiates us between a terrestrial radio station, Gary, is that we don't have an antenna, and we have a farther reach.
Well, one of the things I like is that you let the average person, if you listen to one of the big radio stations, ABC, CBS, I mean, these people are making, $700,000, $800,000 a year, and they are professionals. They have to worry about their job. It's different here. Everybody, all your shows, everybody's passionate about what they do. You mentioned, Frank Vetro and Phil Justino as an attorney. These guys are passionate.
That's how it all
about
started.
what they do. And this is passion.
I mean, where could you possibly find an attorney that's going to sit down next to his client and do a radio show?
Right.
And that's what I'm saying?
Well, who would even want to publish it? Nobody would let it happen.
I got to tell you, I've known Phil Justino for over 25 years, and it's like, for Phil, he's not afraid to say the truth. That's one thing about Phil, you'll find about Phil, and Frank too, is that they're truthful in everything that they say. So for standing on principle, for Phil to be able to sit down next to his client and be able to have, and we know, in fact, that, that people out there are listening. We know they're listening, but yet Phil walks into the courthouse every single day and still gains the respect of his peers, of the judges, and of the people around him.
I wonder if there's a little bit of fear in there also, though.
You know what?
You don't want to piss off somebody who's got a microphone with 100,000 listeners either.
Not only that, but it's like we always tell people, like, we're men with microphones. So it's like if especially on a lot of with social media in today's world, they laugh at us at first when we say we're going to launch a social media campaign or we're going to go on air and talk about you. But within 15 minutes or the next day, we're getting a phone call saying, "Can you stop?" You know what I'm saying? And we'll say, "Yeah, we'll stop as soon as you stop, as soon as you do the right thing." And as it seems like right now, with certain shows that we're doing, where they're the people. How can I say this nicely? The judges are upset, and they're taking whether you're supposed to be fair and unbiased. You know, they're taking away people's amendment rights to be able to say free speech and be able to say what they feel.
You know, when I first heard about the station and Dr. Rivera was getting a show on it and Frank Vetro, and I came down, I said, you know, this is just a bunch of people who are talking to themselves on the radio, and who's going to listen to it? Their friends and their family.
Well, they listen.
And then I was on the show one day, and we put it on Facebook Live, and I started looking at the numbers. Holy shit.
Yep.
I'm like shocked how many people. I mean, there was one night we were doing, it was 30-something thousand. I think it was 34,000 people. But tell me, I mean, it's not just on the station where people click. You have Meerkat.
Right. We have
and tell us about all the places where it's out there.
Social media applications we use. There's Meerkat. There's Periscope. Big thing now, of course, is Facebook Live. You know, and the fact is, although we still, if you go to like WLINY.com, we're licensed to be able to play the music that we play, and we make sure that we are legal in everything that we do. But with the social media applications, we've actually, on Meerkat alone, it's like one big happy family. There are people that you know, when you're on Meerkat and they go, "Hi Eric, how you doing? How's Linda? How's Martin? How are the kids? We love you." You know, Jay, he's from Delaware. I've never met him before, you know, and he's a DJ on the morning show here with me. He's like my brother now. You know, and we met through the social media applications, and he actually surprised me one day when we, with the other studio, you know, here comes Phil Justino walking in the door, followed by Jay, you know, surprising me from Delaware. You know, that's what this is all about. It's about one big happy family just doing what we do, and entertaining, and being informative, entertaining, and offer something other than mainstream media and other than terrestrial radio. You know, I said to somebody said to me yesterday, they said, "You're only internet radio." I said, "Really? You live in your car?" And while I know there are some salespeople out there, and there are people that really, literally do live in their car, you know, when I say to them, "How much time do you spend behind? Do you spend more time behind your computer and holding your phone in your hand, or on your laptop, or on your tablet, than you do in your car?" So, how many people are out there listening to Pandora, or listening to Spotify, or listening to Amazon, and listening to the same stream of music over and over again? We're giving them a way of listening to talk. We're giving DJ personality back to what radio was back in the 70s and the 60s, when you had the DJs where, you know, or even with Casey Kasem or Imus in the Morning, or any of these DJs where you turn on the radio and you wanted to hear what they had to say. Nowadays, you turn on the radio and it's just commercials, mainstream, and it's like people will say, "Well, I can listen to the same song on certain stations at the same time every day, and I can tell you what the next song is going to be." We don't do that. You know, and that's what I'm proud of. We're different than everybody else.
So there's people who'll be listening to this and say, you know what, I have something I want to talk about. I mean, there's so many people here that have stories that they want to tell. Whether it's, I mean, a lot of them are about corruption. There's no end to the amount of corruption here on Long Island. But people who lived it, and they say, you know what, I want a way to tell my story, and maybe it won't help me, but it'll help others. And how do you get that story out? They come to you. If somebody wants to do a show, what's involved in doing a show?
Basically, we want to know what the show has to have purpose. You know, we don't want to just, we're not the type where we're just going to say, okay, you want to do a show. If somebody comes in, they have to have a heart and a motivation to want to do something that's, for what reason do you want to do the show? I mean, we have people that want to play music. We have people that want to talk. You know, we have people that just want to be that DJ behind the microphone. If that's the case, we'll sit down with them. We'll develop the show. From that point, you know, this is a business. It's a radio station. It's a business. So there is cost involved with regards to each show that's done. But in consideration of what other places are charging, what other stations are charging, what other people are charging, we are more than reasonable with our rates that we offer. And basically what we're giving them for that, we're giving them syndication. We're able to say that we have over 100,000 listeners on a monthly basis to the station for a reason, and that's because we are syndicating these shows out there. They're not just doing the show, finishing up, and going home. These shows are being put out there in podcast format on major networks that people, like, for instance, with regards to the morning show, iHeartRadio. You've heard of iHeartRadio. Right. iHeartRadio accepted the morning show. You have to have a certain caliber to be able to do that. We have, as a station, to be able to do that. Each show is submitted to iHeartRadio. Each show is submitted to iTunes if we want to get it on iTunes. We make it so that no matter where somebody is, they can access the show. And if somebody wants to do a show, we're more than happy to sit down and do it with them.
Now, what if they say, well, I don't want to spend the money, or I don't have the money? Can they sell advertising on the show to pay for their show?
You know what it is, Gary? We tell everybody that as far as the show goes, all right, the show average cost for a show is $100 per show, All right, so let's say you're going to do.
You can do a commercial. Somebody could do a commercial for $100.
If you get 4 people, you can get 4 family members to say, "Hey, listen, I want to do a show. Sponsor me for $25 a week." Right. You know, or you can get one person to say, or one business. Then we do the audio commercials. If you listen to the station, we're actually creating we create the audio. You know, it's like, "Hey, this is the DJ here, and we're doing." You know, we create the audio.
Where can you, for $100, have 100,000 people listen to you, and it's out there forever because, as you said, you syndicate it. And I think that's almost more powerful than the live.
Let's say, for instance, if you want to brand yourself, all right, there's a lot of ways of being able to brand yourself with social media. There's a lot of ways of being able to do that. But, okay, what better way to be able to brand yourself than to be able to let somebody hear and see exactly who you are? We're also radio, but we also use the cameras, as you can see in the studio here, too. So somebody could come along, let's say, for instance, you're an attorney, okay, and you're a bankruptcy attorney. I'm using that as a for instance. You know, a bankruptcy attorney can be very boring, okay? So me as a producer, I'm going to liven it up a little bit. I want to liven up that show a little bit to say, make it interesting so that people that are suffering from debt have a way. Like we do a show called Money Matters with MJ Shea. She is a real estate investor, all right, and she's an entrepreneur, all right, but she has experienced, all right, what it's like where deals don't go through, and she knows what it's like to fail. So she's actually gaining an audience of people that say, hey, yeah, I want to be a real estate investor, but and MJ is able to show them mistakes not to make.
I really feel like this station is where satellite radio was maybe 10 years ago. I mean, this is really starting to explode in the last couple of months since you've been doing it.
Yep.
I mean, I think I see the amount of people listening is just, and it's really become acceptable. People are saying, hey, I want to go on some of these shows that you guys have on the station. I mean, it's a huge difference how it's growing.
There are people out there that if the station, for whatever reason, and it's very rare that the station will go down, all right, that won't be, you know, we're internet, so we rely on optimum. But anyway, you know, but if the station goes down, there are people that I'll get texts from, all right, that they'll call me, you're not on the air, you know, that type of thing. That doesn't happen that often, but every once in a while it does. These are ordinary people that are out there that just rely. We have people out there that if the station's not playing, they have a problem with that. You know, they have to hear, they are so attached to us in the station now.
It becomes like family.
Yeah, that's what it is.
So tell me about some of the shows, and we're going to see some of them tonight that are being done. Tell me about some of the shows that you have at the station, and a little bit about the show.
The whole thing started with Standing on Principle, which is a show. Basically, what it says is Frank Vetro is an author. He wrote a book called Standing on Principle about his experience as a high school principal that was involved in a corrupt system here on Long Island. It's fact. Frank wrote the book. It's in its second edition. He sits down every Tuesday night with Phil Justino on Standing on Principle. They talk about news. It's political commentary. You know, Phil and Frank, I joke around. I call them the odd couple, that type of thing. You know, what can an attorney and an author educator have in common? Everything. You know, that type of thing.
I got to tell you, I love that show. I listen to that show a lot while I'm driving.
It's going to be on tonight.
Especially being in the field because Frank, he's an example of be careful who you piss off.
Right.
Because this guy hasn't stopped fighting back, and he's going to expose everybody, and people are going to go down. And the fact that you have an attorney who's got, pardon my French, but that's got the balls to sit there with somebody who speaks out against the system.
Yep.
So Phil, tell me, you're a busy matrimonial and criminal attorney. What made you get involved in WLINY?
Well, actually what happened was I had a case with Frank Vetro, and he was looking into getting a show. And I got a call one day from David Levenstein, who became our producer, and he said, would you be interested in a radio show? Now, when he first called, I thought it was a sales call. But out of respect for Frank, I took the call. I thought he was going to try to sell me advertising. So I took the call, and he said, would you like to do a radio show? And I said, a radio show, really? So he says, yeah, let's set something up. Frank and I went down. We did a little demo. Next thing I know, we lined up a number of sponsors. We were in business.
Right. I mean, you seem like a natural doing it. You know, when I hear your show out there. I mean, we were listening to it last night, and the two of you really, you seem to get. You would think you would hate each other because you're anti-system. That's right. Because you've been screwed by it. That's right. And some would say Phil is part of the system, but he's part of the good part of the system. That's right.
So, I'm a cog in the machinery, but I fight for the little guy. Right. And that's why I took Frank's case a long time ago.
You can listen to Phil Justino on the radio. Say, hey, this guy's got balls, and he's sitting there talking about the system.
And Phil's not afraid to, he's not giving.
He tells it the way it is.
And you know what? As an attorney, he can give legal advice, but he's the first one that'll tell you. If you ring Phil's phone at 3:00 in the morning, it's Phil Justino that's going to answer that phone.
Would you like to publish his cell phone number on the show so we can do it?
Yeah, it's 1-800. It's 1-800 get divorced. No, seriously, but and then you have Ford in Perspective, which is Phil and Ed Vilbing is located in Atlanta. They were college roommates at Fordham University. All right, and that's about all they agree on.
Well, that's interesting. So somebody can do a show, because I know you do another show with
Long
Christy
distance,
Beck, who's in
absolutely.
California.
Absolutely.
And I think you just met her for the first time. So how does that work? Somebody's listening to the show.
We use modern technology to be able to bring them into the board, and it's like they're sitting in the room with us. Absolutely.
Okay, so we got, what else do you have?
Let's see. We have the Frank Vetro show. Get on the V train. You know, Frank will always tell you. He goes, the next stop is Justice, and I'm driving the train. You know, we got thrown off the third floor because Frank got a little angry. No, kidding. We didn't. Seriously, no. Frank's on a mission. He's on a mission to uncover corruption. He's very, very willing to help people. He's an educator.
Let me ask you, if somebody's listening to it and they say, hey, I want to tell you my story about corruption. I don't want to get a radio show. Can they call Frank Vetro and be a guest on his show?
Frank gets a lot of people that will reach out to him, and he can't help everyone. And he'll be the first one to say, I got your email and there's nothing I can do for you. But there's been people that have come in here. There are news stories that Frank Vetro has broke prior to mainstream media breaking it. And then mainstream media breaks it because of what was heard from Frank.
Great. And then you have Kathy Cole's show?
Kathy Cole, she does it with Kathy. She's on hiatus right now. All right, Kathy's on hiatus, but Kathy was involved in a corruption situation where they basically destroyed her life with the New York City public schools, and she wasn't going to take it lying down. So now she's becoming a real, when Kathy walks into the room, people stand up and pay attention.
Absolutely. Great. Well, if anybody wants to listen to the show, again, go to www.WLINY.com. You can listen live. Just Google it, Facebook.
One other show I just want to mention real quick is In the Best Interest of the Children with Dr. Rivera. Carlos Rivera has done an amazing job. He does his show 3 times a week, all right? 3 times
That's
a week.
commitment.
And what I'm amazed at, really quickly to say, is when you talk about the subject of parental alienation or divorce, what he's done is he's reached out across the country, all right? And I would never have imagined the amount of stories that come. When Carlos does a show, my phone lights up, my message board lights up, people from all over the place saying, they're crying right along with him. Right. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm saying that, there are a lot of people that are dealing with this situation. So the shows that we do here at WLINY have purpose, have meaning, Gary. They truly do.
Great. Thank you very much, Eric. I love WLINY. Keep up the good work. You're
you.
The voice of Long Island. The people station.
You have a really good voice. You should do a radio show.
Follow us on Facebook. Be sure to share the programs if you see it. And if you have any stories you'd like to tell us, go to longislandbackstory@gmail.com.
I think every single person who receives a red light camera ticket should fight their ticket. Why? Because it's nothing but a cash grab and a cash cow.
We've all been told that it's all about safety and there's no quotas. You prove that it's got nothing to do with safety and it is quotas.
Red light cameras are nothing more than a tax, plain and simple. Don't anybody ever tell you any different.
The red light cameras are a fraud.
Long Island Backstory. Chief Correspondent Gary Jacobs is uncovering the truth on Long Island. The family court system. Red light cameras. Corruption in local politics. The heroin epidemic. Corrupt judges. At Long Island Backstory, we uncover the truth that the Cablevision news monopoly won't dare touch. We uncover the details you won't see on News 12 or in Newsday. We are local independent media at its best. Long Island Backstory, available on Public Access TV and on YouTube.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. Give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
Todd's a great guy. I mean, look at him. What a sweetheart. Attaboy. Wait, Todd, what are you doing? How totally selfish and un-Todd-like of you. Come on, Todd. Come on, man.
They'll test you. Try to break your will. But however loud the loudness gets, however many cheese puffs may fly, you're the driver, the one in control. Stand firm. Just wait. And move only when you hear the click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
They said a bottle was just a bottle. That no one would ever notice me. But I knew I could be more. That one day, I would make people smile.
I'm one unlucky guy. The chance of being involved in a robbery is 1 in 757. The chances of being struck by lightning. 1 in 750,000.
Please fasten your seatbelts for unexpected turbulence.
The chances of being a victim in an airline crash? 1 in 29 million. Hey, could I get some peanuts? The chances of being involved in a car crash are far greater than lightning strikes and plane crashes. And if you are texting while driving, your risk of crash increases 23 times. Now, I may be an unlucky guy, but I don't have to be part of that statistic, and neither do you. Drive responsibly.
Think being a big sister means you have to spend all day stuck in a library? Think again. To learn more about becoming a big brother or big sister, call 1-888-412-BIGGS.